Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am honored to be in this fantastic building with the opportunity to address you about a subject that I have cared about for over 20 years. As Reverend Mathis said, I'm one of those Republicans that has been interested in this for a long time. I came to this issue as a matter of faith. I am an unapologetic Christian. I believe that the Lord saved my life, and that when I was thinking about these issues, I went to Matthew 25. If you bear with me for 1 second. For I was hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. And the Lord answered, Inasmuch as ye have done it to the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. So I came to this issue when I was with the New Jersey Department of Labor, and I became involved in a corrections education task force. And started, going to prisons, learning the challenges. It's amazing to me in 20 years how we're still talking about the same set of challenges. But during that time, I had the opportunity to speak to the men and women who were in those institutions, and there was one word that kept coming up as the most important thing that they needed, and that was a job. I understand that there's a lot of things that people need. Housing, education, there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of challenges that we face. But if you can't put food on your table, then all other challenges seem to be really of inconsequence. People need to be able to take care of their daily needs, and that is through a job. I absolutely love the name of this. The job's the thing. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. So I work for Goodwill Industries. Goodwill was founded in 1902 by a Methodist minister, Dr. Edgar J. Helms, who had one primary overriding goal. He wanted to help people get jobs. He wanted to help people realize their economic potential. Dr. Helms had an expression, a hand up, not a hand out, because he believed that a job brought dignity, personal worth, it helped build communities and helped build families. I am committed to Goodwill's mission, and I think that Dr. Helms was a genius in articulating exactly what I believe, over 100 years ago. So, when I came to Goodwill, I had the first opportunity to implement a program that I had originally thought of when I was in the Department of Labor, but could not get anybody to move forward with it. And my idea was simple. There's a program out there to help people with disabilities called the Sheltered Workshop. And what that is that you take an organization like Goodwill, and we get a space, and then we go out and we contract with various companies to bring us work, and then we hire a sheltered community to actually do the work. For 60 years, this model has been used to help people with disabilities. I said, why don't we do that to help returning citizens? Because there's two things that I think are working against returning citizens when they're looking for a job. Number one, a lot of employers are just afraid to hire an ex-offender. But the second issue is also, to be honest, true, and that is this individual may not have any work history. And there's an amazing thing that happens. It's a lot easier to get a job when you have a job. Isn't that right? If your resume says that you're currently employed, you are a lot more employable than if you have a long, vacant work history. So I can't necessarily do anything about the first issue, but the second issue I can absolutely do something about. So Goodwill, we set up this sheltered workshop and we bring people in. They are paid every 2 weeks, but they are working every day. And we're dealing with some of those issues that employers expect, those soft skills like, working with a team, working with a supervisor, coming to work on time, all those sort of soft skill things that employers demand. But now once they've worked with me for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, man, they have a long work history. We've had hundreds of people go through this program and go out into their community and get actual jobs. And we do the job training. We have a GED program. We have an adult alternative high school program. We do an OSHA forklift certification, everything we can do to get more skills into people's hands. But I got to be honest with you, when I started this program, I prayed over this program more than anything I've ever prayed over in my life because I didn't know what I was going to get. It was a great idea, but it had never been done before, and I was afraid. Well, what I learned is this workforce is fantastic. What I learned is that this workforce, it's so hard to get a job that once they get it, my biggest problem is getting them to leave. This is a loyal workforce, a hard-working workforce. This is a workforce that I'm proud of. So this program has had a profound impact on me and my organization. I'm going to make a statement that's probably delusional, but I think we may have become the largest employer of returning citizens in the area. Because I just want to note that I may be delusional, so you're applauding someone who's delusional. But what I mean is we now have returning citizens throughout our organization. It's grown from this 20 to 30 person program in 7th Street in Philadelphia. We have 1,100 employees at Goodwill. And we employ, thank you, and we employ returning citizens through the entire operation. Blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs, manager jobs, people running business units inside of Goodwill. I don't believe that I have any returning citizens at the VP level, but I was just telling Cicely that I have found my replacement. And I want you to know he's a young guy. He's got a lot of years because I'm not going anywhere. But he's a returning citizen. And I think that that is the strongest testament I can give to how highly I regard this workforce. But now, let's get to the heart of this and what I think we have to do. Mr. Hanger mentioned this is a bipartisan issue, and I believe that's correct. And Reverend Mathis mentioned that there are Republican candidates for president that recognize that this is an important, this probably is the civil rights issue of our time. But I think that we have to, when I was listening to the introduction, there was an interesting thing that came about. We've seen 600% increase in incarceration rates since 1981. Well, the high water mark of manufacturing in the United States was 1969. So 12 years later, as manufacturing is declining, when those jobs in our communities are declining, then incarceration goes up. We have to address that. I look at Philadelphia, and I see opportunity everywhere. What's the inheritance that this community has? Well, I'll give you a little list here. We've got infrastructure that nobody else can touch. We have a port, airport, a rail system that's unprecedented. We're right in that northeast corridor from Washington, D.C. to Boston. We've got SEPTA. We have people. We have unbelievable universities. We have a finance sector that is enormous. Arts, sports. We have everything that an employer would want to have as they cite his or her business in some place. Because these businesses have to go someplace. Why not here? So I think that this group, this teaching, this church, we should be talking to our elected officials to answer one question. Why don't more companies select Philadelphia? Now, we all know if you drive by Philadelphia, there's a lot of white-collar jobs that are being created in this city. There is more construction and building going on in Center City than you can shake a stick at. Try to get a sign permit right now. The building department is so busy, they can't keep up with all the work. But what about the outlying communities? How many of our acres are lying fallow? Why are they lying fallow? What do we have to do in order to get those jobs back into our city? This is what I would recommend. This is what I would do. I would, as an organization, I would find a spot. How big of a spot? I don't know, 10 feet, a square acre, a square mile, where we have abandoned factories that are a blight in our neighborhoods, and say, this is our spot. And I'm going to ask the government to stop making lawyers rich and figure out who's responsible, and just take responsibility ourselves. Clear those buildings. Make that ground clean. How much would it cost? It will cost a lot less if we stop paying lawyers. Clean. I am.
This guy.
Rutgers Newark School of Law, 2001, so I'm with you. But we go to that spot and we say what we want are jobs. So if you come here, I don't know, let's think out of the box. Let's say if you're in a manufacturer and you bring those kind of jobs that we need to sustainable jobs that we can build a family on, you can locate yourself here tax-free for as long as you're here, as long as you're providing that employment opportunity. Here's another idea that I think would be crazy, out of the box thinking, but exactly how we should be thinking about this. A lot of companies don't want to come here because they're afraid of changes in the regulatory environment. They're afraid of, they site their plant, they put in $1 billion, let's say, and a bureaucrat at the Department of Environmental Protection says, I'm going to increase whatever regulatory environment you have and put you out of business, make your investment worthless. Companies don't come. The jobs that we want don't come with that kind of a sword of Damocles hanging over their head. So we make a promise to them. You site your plant based upon environmental laws as they exist today. Any change that happens, the state will cover it. Now, can you imagine the incentive that that would bring to get companies to come back here? It'd be aggressive, but it would be, you would have so many conservatives and Republicans lining up to support that. It would change the political narrative. But what's the payoff? Everybody has said, without these jobs, then the challenges facing our communities almost appear insurmountable. And it's not that these jobs solve all problems, but when a community has more resources, then problems become more manageable. And if the job's the thing, then we have to look at what's keeping the jobs out. And as a social movement, we have to break down those walls and get those jobs here. I've used the example before. Volkswagen put a $1 billion investment into Tennessee to build the Passat in the United States. Well, where's the next VW, and why don't they pick Philadelphia? That should be our goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we